Of the Metro Council Budget and Finance Committee operating budget hearings. Today we're going to hear from the Mayor's Office, Finance, Planning Commission, Codes Administration, and General Services. First, I'm going to go over the ground rules, and then we'll dive in. The ground rules are, we're assuming that council members participating have read the department materials that are on the Metro Council Resources webpage. If any council members having a hard time finding those, please email Danielle or Maria in the council office. They'll direct you to them. We're also assuming that all council members have read the relevant department's information in the budget book. We are going to stick to questions about the operating budget. We're going to stick to the timeframes listed on our schedule. We have multiple ways to collect questions, both for council members and the public. One, during the allotted time today, you can raise your hand using the raise hand function in WebEx. We also have a Q&A section in WebEx in the lower right-hand corner that you should be able to click on the lead question that I'm not seeing on mine, but I'm going to assume is there. Mr. Cooper, you see that working on yours, the Q&A? All right. So you can press on the question, type in the answer and submit, and we capture those questions. We're going to get answers to council members, publish them for the public. Or if a question comes to you after the hearing is over with, you can feel free to email Maria Calder in the council office, and she'll be happy to collect the questions, get the answers, get them to you, post them for the council members and the public. So with that, it's 4:03. We'll go to 4:18 at the latest for the mayor's office. Who from the mayor's office is going to be the lead presenter? If you could unmute and identify yourself.
Mr. Chairman, this is Bill Phillips.
Good afternoon, Mr. Phillips. You've just heard the ground rules we talked about. If you want to go ahead and make opening comments, and then we'll open it to questions from council members.
Thank you, Chairman Mendez, and members of the committee and council members. I'm Deputy Mayor and Chief of Staff, and with me today is Deputy Mayor for Community Engagement, Brenda Haywood, and also on hand is Kristen Wilson, our Chief Operations Officer, who works directly with departments and agencies on day-to-day operations, as well as oversees the Office of Performance and Management. She was heavily involved as an architect of the proposed Metro budget that's before the council now. My scope of responsibilities are primarily internal, and then Deputy Mayor Haywood focuses on the community at large. And many of you know my distinguished colleague from serving with her on the council and throughout the community. And she has unique qualifications to be an ambassador, not only for Mayor Cooper, but the entire city. Following my brief remarks, Mayor Haywood will make brief remarks on her activities, and then we will be available for any questions. I'm pleased to report that I believe strongly that you and your constituents are being served well by the mayor's staff of dedicated, hardworking public servants. And this has been proven over and over since the May 3rd tornado, and then followed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the unusual weather patterns that we've experienced. And consistently, the staff has responded to these disasters as well as continued the day-to-day task of governing. The mayor's office proposed budget represents a decrease of $180,000, and it proposes a budget that maintains and improves service while looking for ways to keep the costs flat or even reduced. In addition, by shifting our resources internally, we can reach out to constituents in new ways, as well as reduce the cost of other activities. And an example is our communications team that we have is operating approximately $120,000 a year less in cost and one FTE less than past operations in the mayor's office. And that savings has been used to put additional resources into reaching out to the citizens. And all of this has been during a very intense period of time for our city, and I'm very proud of the high energy professional conduct of the staff. Admittedly, due to some recent events in our city, progress on improving some internal efficiencies is not on the schedule I had hoped to report today, but we are focusing on that, and you will see improvements in our organization and our functioning very soon in order to maximize the use of our taxpayers' dollars. And with that, I'll ask Deputy Mayor Haywood if she would like to say a few words about her activities in the community, and then we're all available to answer any questions you may have today or coming days. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Haywood.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Bill Phillips, for that eloquent introduction and summary. Thank you, Chairman Mendez and Vice Mayor Schulman, members of the Finance Committee, and the Metro Council members. I am Brenda Haywood, Deputy Mayor of Community Engagement, of course appointed by Mayor Cooper to ensure that our entire community will be engaged and strengthened. This endeavor will be accomplished by each of us working together to ensure that our city is collectively catering to people instead of politics. As Deputy Mayor, I will continue to focus on and avail myself in areas where potential is faced with its greatest threat. I also want you to know that my work focuses on being out in the community, engaging with schools and mayors and Metro's work in our neighborhoods. And it's important for you to know that the community engagement means, and it is aligned with how the community engages with government. But we know with everything that has happened over the last couple of months, everything has shifted. Transportation now, we have listening sessions, we have the reopening of businesses, we have webinars, and we have online constituent responses. All of this is just an example of what's going on in our world today that we must adjust to. We also know that there's a lot that we have wanted to do, from improving teacher pay, a 10-year affordable housing plan, and implementing body cams. We know that we want you to know that we have not lost sight on our primary goals before all of this happens. We want you to know that we are talking about now the well-being of individuals. The office has responded to what people need, helping with fundraising for relief, forming a food security task force, standing up with shelters and disaster assistance centers, doing tornado relief and responding to needs of our community. We want you to know that we're working diligently with Dr. Battle on distance learning for all of our students in a way that they will be successful. We also want you to know that we've been in the office for a little over 7 months, and more than that, we have been consumed by responding to these two crises. I want to recognize that people are really hurting, and we feel their hurt. This virus and the tornado is something that we will be faced with for quite a while, and everything that we do now will be in response to our city being the best that it can be under the circumstances that we have found ourselves in. And thank you, and at this time, we will entertain any questions that you may have.
Thanks very much. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, Deputy Mayor Phillips and, of course, my very good friend Haywood, thank you. I know that it has been challenging beyond anyone's belief over the last several months. None of us would have ever dreamed of it, nor would we ever want to dream of this. And so, but I think collectively we'll come out on the other side and we'll make things work. That being said, let me ask you guys a quick question. What is the philosophy of in the budget presented, do you feel like there needs to be equity amongst what the business community has felt out here in the layoffs, the same percentages, and then kind of putting that across the board with the government to where we're all in this thing together? And whether you can answer a yes or no to that, just what's the overall philosophy? Because obviously we've got a number of businesses that are hurting. And so that'd be one question. My second statement is simply this. I'm grateful to you guys, certainly with you, Deputy Mayor Haywood. You know, you and I became very, very good friends over the last several years, and I'm honored to call you one of my friends. And Bill, you and I are the same. I mean, we've known each other a long time. So thank you very much for your courtesy, and I appreciate working with you guys through this.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. I'll speak, and then if Brenda has something she'd like to add, or Kristen. But we're very aware of the hurt that is going on in the community. And the staff we're working closely with the health department to find ways to continue moving towards reopening. And so our philosophy is we want to put the city back on track just as soon as possible. And everything we can do from the mayor's office, we're putting full bore into it.
Okay.
All right.
Any others?
Next will be Councilmember Suarez. What's that?
Well, I was just going to add one more thing. The other piece I wanted just to add is thank you guys for being responsive when I have reached out to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilmember Glover. Councilmember Suarez.
Thank you, and I echo what Councilmember Glover said. Thank you, both of us, for being here. I'm going to make this very quick. This is on the DES because it's part of the report showing for the mayor's office, and maybe I'm not seeing it and I don't know where to look. I see the expenditure that is put in the budget, and I see that there's a reduction from 20 million to 19 million, so I see the savings there. What I don't see is the revenue. I thought that there were revenue being collected by the DES, and so where is that being shown? Because it's not shown on the DES budget that is online. That's question number one. Question number, well, let's do one, and then we can come back to another one. But I just want to know where the revenue is, if it's in the budget, and then if someone can tell me what the metro cost, I think it's MFA that is calling the detail that we showed, how much is that this year?
I would defer to Kristen Wilson on that if she's available.
Sure. Hi, Council Member. The total revenues are on the budget summary on the first page of 19 million. But what we can do is follow up if you're looking for greater detail on how those revenues break out by customer. Is that what you're requesting?
No. When I look at the detail, I see expenditure of 19 million. I don't see a corresponding revenue, and I may not be looking at it right, but I saw the breakdown of expenses totaling 19 million, not revenue. So that's why I thought if I see the expenses, there should be a corresponding revenue on that page somewhere, which I'm not seeing. And so that's why I was asking if it's showing up somewhere else.
What we can do is print it out for you and highlight where that is, and then come back around and see if scan that back to you all. If that satisfies the question, we're also happy to take follow-up questions on it too.
That would be great. What I'm looking at is 68, the district energy system financial, and it has an operating expenses for FY 2021. But then I don't see on the revenue or transfer or anything, I don't see anything. So that's my specific question, and I will appreciate follow-up information.
Sure, we will be more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
And then Councilmember Syracuse is next.
Thank you, Chair. My question is from a staffing perspective, and then Is the ECD position and the Music City Music Council positions, are those still included in your budget proposal as far as staffing?
Councilman, this is Bill Phillips. Yes, they are. We are taking a look at economic development and how we want to approach it under these times of restraint financially as well as philosophy. But we are still very active in economic development and work closely with state and the Greater Nashville Chamber of Commerce. And so that was one of those areas that I would like to have been able to say, here's our definite plan today, but it has been delayed slightly. But we are very much a part of that. On the Music City Council, the council decided that they did not need a full-time person, but that if we'd have someone who would work with them. And so we're in the process of organizing that as well. But no new personnel.
Thank you. So that the spot that was budgeted for previously, that's not a budgeted position anymore in the mayor's office, the Music City Music Council?
Well, it was a part of someone's other responsibilities as well, and it'll continue that way. But it's not a full-time position, but it's supportive of the Music City Council.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks very much.
All right, and council members, because the initial comments, I think, took up half the time, I'm going to extend this for 5 minutes to 4:23. And Council Member Porterfield, you're next.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you for that extension. I have 3 questions. My first question is around the CARES Act money that Nashville has received. Do you all have a plan on how you're going to spend that equitably, and will council members have input as well as the community and community organizations, will they have input? And then my other 2 questions are dealing with the Chief Equity Officer position that has not been filled and the Office of New Americans, that director position has not been filled. Is there any intent by the mayor's office to fill those positions? Thank you.
I'll answer the last 2 and then ask Kristen if she would address the CARES Act funding. But yes, we are going to fill those positions. They are vacant at this point, have talked to some people who are interested, but we have delayed making any decision until we can get past this current bump in the road that we've been dealing with. And then Kristen has been working with finance on the CARES Act funding.
Sure. Hi, this is Kristen Wilson on the CARES Act. One of the challenges we've had with immediately coming out with a plan is that the regulations still have been evolving and guidance has changed even as recently as last week. We had further guidance that in our mind, actually, all has been helpful and positive. We have asked all the departments to submit to us needs that they have based on the regulations. We are compiling those. In particular, as the mayor had articulated in the budget presentation, our first priority is the response itself, and we are using those funds to make sure that all of our first responders and our health department have all the resources they need. That said, we are working through kind of an overall plan with the mayor, and then in terms of next steps and engagement with the council, we fully intend for that. And I don't know, Brenda, if you want to speak to that further.
No, I think you covered it adequately. I just wanted to reassure the council, being a former council member, that he definitely plans to involve the council in this process, and I just wanted to make sure that that was highlighted.
Thank you so much for answering that question, guys. Please make sure that we're including the community as well. And with those 2 positions, they were vacant prior to COVID and the tornado, and this is something we've been pushing for since the start of this term, so please make sure to make that a priority. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Councilmember Allen.
Thank
you, Mr. Chair. My understanding is that the Nashville Career Advancement Center is on the chopping block, and that has been something that has helped with job creation. So 2 questions. One, will that involve positions being cut in the mayor's office, because I think that's where it was housed? And 2, is that another one of the things that would come under the CARES Act in terms of trying to find funding to continue that function?
This is Kristen Wilson once again. There is a separate questionnaire and write-up for NCAC, which is organized, at least in our finance system, as a separate department, and so it's split out and I think presented differently that way. Starting a few months ago now, we have asked Metro Action Commission to start reviewing, assessing, and managing NCAC because they had a fair amount of workforce development programs themselves in their department, and it felt strange to have 2 workforce development operations in 2 different places. Dr. Cynthia Kroom had that oversight already and had a fairly good assessment of where there were opportunities to streamline and bring those operations together. The coronavirus has accelerated that to some degree. When you think about what is a youth workforce development program in today's environment, it is now going to be much more about service work that we can pay the youth for example, employing youth around expanded summer food programs that are managed by Metro Action Commission. So we are taking the step of going ahead and formally merging NCAC into Metro Action Commission. There are CARES Act dollars we are looking at to help that make sure that we are maintaining the service levels as much as we possibly can as we think through what these needs are in a very kind of different context. And we are absolutely also working with Dr. Krim to focus those more on communities of need, so 37208, and also any communities where the poverty threshold is greater than 200%. Is going to be a focus area for those types of workforce development opportunities. One thing I do want to make clear on is that we do expect there to be staff impacts from that merger. In certain ways, the way the operations work for NCAC are being changed. There was a lot of contracting, overhead, and infrastructure that was involved there that we're streamlining and taking out and moving more to a direct services model. And as a result, there will be some staff impacts. But our goal really is to maintain service levels and to grow them as we move back out of this period.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, we're out of time for the mayor's office. If there are additional questions, and I think there might be a few, please use that Q&A function in the corner, bottom right-hand side. We will get the questions answered. We've been capturing those every day, working on getting them answered. They will be online. So Mr. Phillips and Ms. Haywood and Ms. Wilson, thank you very much for, I know you guys are burning the midnight oil every day, all day, each day through these crises, and we all appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, next we'll have